This is former WWE superstar Al Snow, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio, right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. And possibly you might be hearing or seeing this on YouTube. Today's guest is a former three-time guest, I think it is before now, possibly four, and that is Al Snow. Al is probably just one of the nicest guys in professional wrestling and a great mind for everything around wrestling. This is another example of that. If you haven't heard our prior interviews, they are still available in the archives. There's a portion of this interview that reminded me of when I was calling to interview Magnum TA back in 2004. Now, Magnum TA owns a cell tower, and for some reason, I don't know if it was a joke, but he had a voicemail set up to when you dialed him, you then heard a dial tone answer the phone, and a dial and the phone dial, boop, 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 and it'd pick up again and repeat the process again, and then it would have like a whole echelon of things going on, ultimately landing with him saying, "I'm not available, please leave a message." It was like a whole big roller coaster ride to nothingness, and unfortunately, with this interview, Al was traveling in his car. We lost connection a few times, and I had to call him a few times, and I was having flashbacks to that voicemail message from Magnum TA from, 13, 14 years ago. Just something that sprang to mind I thought I might share here. Again, Al Snow has a new clothing line out, Collar and Elbow. Be sure and Google that. Be also check out Al Snow's Wrestling Academy, which is international, dare I say the word global. And hope everybody enjoys this interview. Of course, we have another interview coming up in just a couple of days with a ROH superstar. And, of course, our weekly TNA teleconferences, GFW teleconferences, whatever you would like to call them, will continue as long as they keep doing them. Keep it locked right here to WrestlingEpicenter.com for more.
Hi, this is Al Snow, WWE superstar, host of Sunday Night Heat and the $1 Million Tough Enough, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Throw some metal, show a little skin, looking for some trouble if she can get in. Come with me, I know where to go, I know what you like, I know how you want it. Give it the gate, it is the town of the master.
Hey, this is the King of the Mountain, Jeff Jarrett, and founder of Global Force Wrestling. And you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is one of my favorite guests to have on. He's joining us for, I think, the fourth time, possibly fifth, in our 15-year history. It is the one and only Al Snow. Mr. Snow, are you with me?
Yes, I am, and thank you again very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
First time we had you on, we were promoting the second season of Tough Enough, so it shows you how long we've been around. So it's been a while.
Wow. God, that's been a while, yeah.
Right.
Second season of Tough Enough.
All right, so here we are once again to talk about your career, and we're not going to do the whole career retrospective. Instead, we're going to talk more about the current events happening with you. And, of course, one of the more current things that has happened is your departure from Global Force Wrestling. We've seen various other folks who left alongside you kind of offer their take on it. I was curious, we spoke to Jeff Jarrett a few weeks ago, and he said that it had nothing to do with performance. It's strictly a budget thing. Would you concur? Is that exactly what went on here?
Oh, I'm certain that it was, a budget thing. He brought, Jeff had his own group of guys that he brought with him, and there were only so many spots
financially and budget-wise that you can afford to have as far as producers, and have a necessity or need for, to have to produce the segments. And there was myself and two other guys, and he had brought in his own group, and somebody had to go, and that's just how it works. I mean, I had a great run there. It lasted much longer than I expected. I have no complaints whatsoever. I wish them nothing but the best. Hope that they don't just thrive, but go on to, or not just survive, but go on to thrive and succeed and be a real force in wrestling. And hopefully someday I can come back and do business again,
Very good. Yeah, and you were there for a long time. You made a first appearance in 2008, but you stuck around as an agent for, got to be, 7 years or so?
I guess, yeah. I mean, in wrestling, I mean, and pretty much, in life, but especially in wrestling, whenever you get an opportunity, you get a spot, it's not a matter of when it will, if it'll end, it's a matter of when it will end. And, you go into it understanding that it's going to, you're going to have a run, and it's going to come to an end, you're going to finish up, and you're going to leave the territory. And that's an inevitability. You can't get around it. And, things change, and you move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you were a part of so many different waves of good stuff and just stuff that just from the outsider looking in just looked like it was a nightmare. The reports online and everybody I've ever spoken to that was ever backstage always say that the backstage atmosphere in GFW, or Impact as it was, TNA, whatever you want to call it, always was positive, that the guys never really took in all the incoming of negativity that was all over the internet about what was going on in the company. Was it felt backstage, or was it kind of, you guys just tune it out?
Well, of course it was felt backstage, but, the guys were all, and I'm not, not paying lip service. I mean, even if I still worked for GFW, TNA, Impact, I'd still state, what the facts were. And the facts are that everybody knew that there were, issues or problems that would occur or would come up. But I got to tell you, one of the things that impressed me so much was the fact that everybody there, and I do mean everybody there, worked so incredibly hard on that show, from the in-ring talent to the production staff to the camera crew to the, to the office staff. I mean, you got to think they put on a comparable show to WWE with not even a third of the budget, not even a third of the talent roster, not even an eighth of the resources, not even an eighth of the office staff, not even an eighth of the production staff are put in the comparison to the hard work of just about everyone involved.
Excellent, excellent, and I would agree with that. And it's my company. It's the one that I like to watch the most. I'm more of a guy who watches anything but WWE, and that's that makes me a rarity, but it certainly is. It's my thing, and that's always been my thing. So I wanted to talk to you just a little bit more about your time there, and then we're going to talk about Collar and Elbow. But we were talking a little bit about your time in TNA and GFW, whatever you want to call it. You did the role of a manager, and I enjoyed that, but you eventually ended up back in the wrestling ring, and you're in better shape now than you were back, 15 years ago. Do you still enjoy getting in there?
Oh, God, I love, wrestling. I've been so blessed to get to do what I've gotten to do for as long as I've gotten to do it. It's just probably the most awesome thing that anybody can do for a living, to be quite honest. I mean, it's amazing. And I really sincerely mean it. I mean, I love wrestling. I've had a love affair with it for 35 years, and I've gotten to just be lucky enough to keep doing it. And every chance, every moment I get in the ring, whether it's in front of 10 people or 10,000 or 100,000, I love every minute.
Very cool, very good. We recently were part of a teleconference Bruce Pritchard did, and he talked a little bit about the gut check challenge. And I kind of started thinking about that, and you were kind of the the good cop to his bad cop when they did that whole thing. I guess my question would be, did you think that ultimately was something that they should go back to? Did you think that was a cool concept, or did you think that was kind of something that needed to go the way that it went?
No, I personally, I love the concept, and I love the whole segment on TV. I think that, and I thought it was very interesting television. I thought that it was very entertaining because, to be quite honest, a lot of it was about 90% a shoot. That, things happened or that we didn't expect, and it was a way to highlight or spotlight, some new talent. It's a great vehicle to scout for talent, to create a new audience because of doing something different and interesting and a little more cutting edge. And I thought it was a great segment and should have continued to be done.
Absolutely. So since you left GFW, we've heard some things about what you're doing now, and one of them is the Collar and Elbow apparel line. And did you want to tell me a little bit about what that's all about?
Well, Collar and Elbow, I started an apparel line for fans of wrestling because, I'm a wrestler, but really I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of wrestling. And then in wrestling all its forms, Greco-Roman, freestyle, catch as catch can, judo, jiu-jitsu, MMA. I genuinely have always loved wrestling. And it's just such an incredible backdrop to tell such intense emotional stories, but regardless of the style or the form, that help to connect with an audience emotionally. And it's the purest competition there is. It's just one person against another person. And I started Collar and Elbow, kind of represent that, and then I wanted to be very selfish. I've got a shirt that I got from a supplement company that has got to be one of the most popular T-shirts I have ever worn. It fits so nice. And the company went out of business, but I don't care. I still wear the shirt because it's one that I whenever I'm going to, I thought, if I'm going to start a company and make shirts, I'm going to make shirts like that I like to wear. And so I have. And
Oop, are you still there? You're breaking up a little bit. Hello?
Please, hello.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm driving, so it's going to be up 65 in Indiana, which is the worst interstate in the entire country.
That happens. Don't worry. No problem. So, what was the name of the supplement company that gave you that? I think you said it, but you kind of.
I know. I just said the supplement company went out of business, and I still wear the shirt because I just love the quality of the shirt. So, if I was going to start an apparel company, I figured that I would, use shirts like that. People would actually enjoy wearing, regardless of whatever was on it. It didn't matter. And I'm trying to do something different because and people could say whatever they want about me, but I don't think there's any denying that I genuinely love wrestling.
Right.
And so, as most startup companies are concerned, you got to jump one of the biggest hurdles, which is you got to come up with a low cost or cost-effective marketing plan so that you can, build your brand and get in front of as many eyes as possible. And that usually costs a tremendous amount of money. So I, talked to my partners and came up with a suggestion that would kind of help out a lot of people and help us out at the same time. It was a very synergistic plan, and that is, if you're an independent wrestler out there, and believe me, I know what it's like. When I first started, I used to cook food on the engine of my car because I couldn't afford to, buy warm sandwiches at, like White Castle or someplace.
Yeah, I remember you told us a story about, go eating your whole meal at a buffet. Your meal for the day.
Yeah, because you just the way that professional wrestling works entertainment in general works is, you know, you get paid based on how many people tune up to see you. And if you don't have a marketable character, a marketable gimmick, you know, you haven't found your voice yet, you know, out there, you haven't been on a national platform like TNA, GFW Impact, WWE, it's really difficult, you know, to not only be the thing that generates ticket sales, but also being able to make any ancillary money with your merchandise. So my hope is that by building this brand, Collar and Elbow, as a fan's brand, you know, then we have what we call sponsored athletes and ambassadors who basically they get a discount code that takes 10% off to help motivate people to want to use the code. Just got to motivate them to do it, and then they get $5 for every piece of apparel they sell. You know, they sell 100 pieces of apparel, they make $500, and it's just a way to help future talent and you know, independent wrestling in general maybe survive a little bit better and, you know, make things a little easier. And another thing we did was we instituted an effort with a cooperative effort with Cauliflower Alley Club, where
That's
you know
awesome.
You can we have where you round up your purchase. If you buy something for $20.95, you can round it up to the nearest dollar, which is 21. And 5 cents doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but you know, if 1,000 people round up the purchase, that money adds up, and we contribute that to Cauliflower Alley Club and their charitable efforts to help former wrestlers and boxers who, you know, are in need.
Absolutely.
They've done so for the last 2 decades.
CAC is one of our favorite organizations. I mean, they just do such incredible stuff.
They do. They just recently bought a handicapped accessible van for a former wrestler. Helped him buy the van.
Do you mind if I ask who that is, or you don't want to say?
You know, it's not for me.
Okay, no problem. Well, that's awesome, man. That's a lot more information than I was expecting, but I'm glad you shared it because it's a lot of. No, I'm glad you said it though. That was awesome.
You know, but and I want to get across. I want people to understand that this is you know, it's a business, and I'm trying to make money. That's what businesses do. You know, because I need to make a profit to stay in business. But I genuinely am trying to give back to wrestling, both the future and the past. And I do feel like, you know, this isn't my, you know, my brand. It's if you're a fan of wrestling, it's our brand. That's awesome. What it is. Just being a fan of wrestling.
Very cool. Man, I can tell you this, and I mean this, you're one of the guys I like to have on because you run the gambit, but you always say what's on your mind, and you say it in a very eloquent way that you can't get mad at you for it. Like once you said about people who are critical of wrestling, you know, ultimately you're getting upset about people who pull up their socks and fake fight. And you know, you say that, and a lot of people, if I said that, somebody might get mad at me, but because you're you could say that because nobody questions your love of wrestling, and they don't know who I am, but they know who you are.
They still get mad at me for things that I say. That's been a history in my career that I have a tendency to speak my mind and then usually upset people. But, you know, if people don't want to know, then don't ask. Because I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna BS anybody. I'm just gonna tell you what I think, and you know, it's probably completely off base, but for me, it's my, you know, it's what I think, and based on my experience.
Well, you're the only guy, and again, I'm not going to just turn this into a kiss-up section, but you're the only guy who we ever had on that was from the original ECW that ever said, well, it's not the first time we ever saw anything like that before. You're the only guy who's ever had the courage to say it. Nobody else said it.
But am I wrong? I mean, it's true.
You did. You pointed to UWF and Mid-South territory and things like that. So, yeah. Definitely.
Mid-South and Memphis, and, you know, you go down to Eddie Kravitz. The Sheik was infamous for him, you know, matches.
Absolutely. And obviously, you know, his nephew being Sabu, you know, you saw his influence, but that's for sure. Your name has been associated with a school in the UK, and I'm kind of curious if that's still a thing because I haven't heard much from it recently.
That's pretty much okay. I have an academy in London, England, but I also have affiliate academies in Cheshire, the Midlands, Portugal, Romania, Denmark, Greece, Chile, and working on one in Italy.
Really? So you're doing a whole global thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to. My long-term goal, quite honestly, is to create a network of academies around the world that philosophically everyone teaches the same way. I supply every single one of these schools a syllabus, a training line to follow philosophically, and then that way they can develop skill-wise, technique-wise. Everybody says style-wise a little bit different. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Okay, this time. Okay, I can hear you again.
Just
I can hear
there.
you again.
Yeah. Okay.
Darn Indianapolis.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Good.
Okay, fantastic. What I was saying was that philosophically, all the schools train the same way. I supply them with a training syllabus, and what I'm hoping to do, my goal is to create this network pretty much everywhere, so that students who attend an academy, let's say in England, they're going to evolve, they're going to develop, they're going to grow to a certain level, and then they can only go so far because they only get so much of that kind of experience. But then by creating this network, a student in London can contact the school in Portugal and be confident that philosophically it's all the same, and then they can go down there and they can train with the class, perform on their shows, get a whole variety of varied experience by traveling from school to school if they want. And then if they ever get an opportunity with WWE or TNA, GFW Impact on a national or international a polish and an experience level that will allow them to really fully take advantage of that opportunity to, maybe.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir. So that sounds
Or
like
did I lose?
You lost me. You lost me. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, you were doing pretty good. You were just saying that you were a global network. That's a great idea, and it kind of goes along with, kind of what's going on with the entire wrestling industry, where WWE is reaching out to more international markets than ever before. Global Force Wrestling, I mean, you can hear it in the name. That's what they're about.
Yeah.
They want to reach out to all the global markets. So it's definitely an idea, and I'm not surprised you're jumping on that because that's the right way to go about it.
This is so fun.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's
No,
me
it's not
or
your
the
phone.
phone. Is it me or is it you? Okay. Final two questions for you, if I may. Now that you're clear from GFW obligations and with, the WWE fairly recently doing Tough Enough a few years back, if they brought that concept back, would you be interested in taking part of it the way that you did during its glory days?
Certainly, I loved being a part of Tough Enough. I kind of tell you, it's one of the greatest things I think I've ever done in my career, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was such a pleasure. And if I'm remembered for only one thing, I'd be happy if I'm only remembered for just being well.
Wow. And you got some incredible talent that came from there, including one of my son's favorite athletes, which is Johnny Mundo. I mean, you really helped craft him into what he is now.
Oh yeah, I knew and could see his talent. I'm so proud of every one of these kids that trained, and how well they've done. The Miz, Johnny, Ryback, Cody Rhodes, Maurice, Richard Cox. I could just keep going on and on and on. That's Phoenix, people that I've been involved with, trained, that influence on. and watching them succeed is just fantastic.
Absolutely. Final question for you, and it's kind of a silly question, but it's about your physical conditioning. What do you attribute to being the age you are, and I'm not going to out you, but being in better shape now than ever before? Because how did that happen?
Well, first and foremost, I changed how I eat and what I eat. And then secondly, I changed how I train. For years, I had trained like a bodybuilder, and I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm a wrestler. So what I did was as crazy as it may sound, I went on the internet and I looked at old-time turn of the century strong, like Jack and Schmidt and Louis Sear and guys like that. And if you look at pictures of these guys, they look amazing. And, you know, I thought, they didn't know what carbs were, calories were, nothing. So what were they doing, and how were they doing it to look like that? And so I started looking at whole training routines, and I started training like those guys.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Well, you look incredible. It sounds like you really have got so many different oars in the water in terms of business ventures, and I'm not surprised, man. I really appreciate it. You're always a fun guest to have on, and I apologize for the phone issues. I think you said it's on your end, but it could be mine too, so I apologize for that.
There's no apology necessary, and I can't thank you enough for having me on yet again, and I really do appreciate it. Anytime to come on and talk about anything, I'm always happy to do this.
Very good. And I'm an interview you did where I didn't ask you about the severed doll head in Walmart, so that's a good thing too, right?
Yeah, everybody still brings that up.
Hey, before I let you go, can I ask for one last favor from you?
Yes, absolutely, anything.
Do you mind if I ask you for a liner just saying this is Al Snow and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right, and I'll count you down in 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is former WWE superstar Al Snow, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
If you want to conquer something, you must be ready for a war.
This is insane. Lucha Underground is out of this world. I've never seen anything like this.
Lucha Underground Season 3. New episode Wednesday at 8 p.m. on El Rey Network.
Hola, this is the Wednesday Night Delight, Johnny Mundo, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.